Let's move on to game 2 here and head over to the AFC Championship. Man, it felt good watching the Bengals take out the Bills. But nobody in this community feels that way. They're all Bills fans up here, and they're all very angry. But I don't know how you can't fall in love with this Bengals team. Maybe Eli Apple can make you take you.
Oh, yeah, he's having a day, huh?
Eli Apple can make
Jesus,
you
buddy.
dislike this Bengals squad.
Somebody needs to be a friend and just be like, hey, but let me see your phone quick. I gotta make a call and just throw it against the wall.
Yeah. All right, let's get to work. 6:30 p.m. Eastern, the AFC Championship game. Cincinnati Bengals now 14-4, 7-3 on the road. Kansas City Chiefs 15-3, 8-1 at home at Arrowhead Stadium in Kansas City, Missouri, and it is cold. It will be very cold. 20 Fahrenheit, partly cloudy. There'll be no precipitation, so 20 Fahrenheit and 10 mile per hour wind right now. That is our situation. Let's take a look at the line history here. This one opened up with the Bengals as 1-point favorites. Then today, the Bengals were 2.5-point dogs at Pinnacle. The Bengals were 2.5-point dogs for 2 luxurious minutes before they went down to 2. Now they are back at 1. So from a money line perspective, this opened up with the Chiefs at minus 113. They got up to plus 121. They're now sitting at plus 108. Totals wise, this opened up at 48. This dropped down to 46.5 this evening. This evening, it got down to 46.5 just 2 hours and 10 minutes ago. And then it jumped back up to 47.5, which is where it is right now at 47.5. And I want the under in this one. I want the under in both these games. And again, the reason why I haven't bet them and the reason why I need to talk it out is because I understand the bias that I have. I get it. I just cashed 4 bets on unders last week, and I want to keep making that money. But I'm expecting to move in that direction. Let's take a look at the cash here. So we had implied line value on the Philadelphia Eagles. I would say 20% line value on the Philadelphia Eagles. The Cincinnati Bengals have about 15% line value. Right now, 36,456 tickets are in. 75% of the tickets, 73% of the cash is on the Cincinnati Bengals. 34% of the tickets and 69% of the cash is on the under. The Bengals come in off an extremely impressive 27-10 beatdown of the Bills in Buffalo, extend their franchise best win streak to 10 games, put up 412 total yards, had 30 first downs. Those 30 first downs allowed by the Bills were the most that they'd allowed since the Chiefs put 30 first downs on them in that playoff loss last season. Joe Cool was in complete control. He completed his first 9 passes. Now, we said the very similar things about Hurts. Hurts completed his first 7 passes. It's impressive when a quarterback comes on the field in a game of this magnitude and says, I've got this. And that's what Joe Cool did. Completed his first 9 passes for 105 yards. Cincinnati came out, got a 14-0 lead after 2 possessions. Burrow was 23 of 36, 242 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. He also ran 6 times for 31 yards. The makeshift offensive line protected Burrow as he was sacked just once and hit only 3 times. And, Sharping, second-round pick. When we talk about some of these guys that were coming in, now Sharping had been in for a while, and he wasn't the big question mark. But we had second-round picks coming in. They hadn't succeeded in the NFL level, but they were still thought of very highly when they were drafted, and they showed out. Jamar Chase caught 5 passes for 61 yards and a touchdown. Hurst caught 5 for 59 yards and a touchdown. And Joe Mixon was excellent. That was tricky to cap because the Bengals running game had been so porous of late. And Mixon comes in and runs 20 times for 105 yards and a touchdown, catches 2 passes for 18 yards. Samaje Perine ran 7 times for 33 yards, caught 5 passes for 31 yards. They looked very good. The defense shut down an electric offense. They held the high-powered Bills to 325 total yards, held the Bills to just 4 of 12 on third down and 1 of 3 in the red zone. Since he finished with 1 sack and 8 quarterback hits, Bengals are 5-0 against the spread in their last 5 road games. Now, if we start breaking down the stats, we're going to have a similar thing that happened last week. Last week, we talked about the Bengals stats. We talked about the Bills stats, and the Bills were better in every single stat. The Bengals ranked 14th in the NFL in yards per play. Their defense was 16th in opponent yards per play. The Chiefs are 1st and 9th in those categories. We said the same thing about the Bills, but when it comes down to Joe Cool and these Bengals, the stats just don't tell the whole story. They are more than the sum of their parts. And if you get too caught up with the stats with this group, you're going to lose your bet. The 23rd ranked defense this season in terms of passing yards, the 20th ranked defense this season in terms of third down efficiency. I just saw a defense that shut down the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo. The Chiefs are number 1 in the NFL with 413.6 total yards per game. Number 1 in the NFL with 29.2 points per game. The pass offense, 297.8 yards per game. That's the best this season. The third down offense, 48.7% third down conversion rate. That's number 2 in the league. The Bills were number 1. They're number 1 in the NFL, averaging 6.4 yards per play. But now they lose Mahomes' mobility with the high ankle sprain. And they play a Bengal defense that we have one stat that they're 5th in the league, allowing 20.1 points per game, but they face a Bengals defense that's clearly peaking right now, a defense that is better than the numbers indicate. The Chiefs come in off an impressive 27-20 victory at home over Jacksonville. Even losing Patrick Mahomes late in the first half to the high ankle sprain, they stayed in control throughout the contest. Mahomes finished 22 of 30 for 195 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. Henny came in and looked good. 5 of 7 for 23 yards and a touchdown before Mahomes returned to start the second half. Mahomes and Andy Reid keep saying that he'll be good to go this Sunday, but a high ankle sprain is going to be very difficult. And the idea is that it gets tougher on Tuesday and Wednesday, and then maybe it'll get better after that point, but it's going to hurt badly. Mahomes thrown 28 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions in 10 home playoff games. He's spectacular. Kelsey's once again shown why he's a first ballot Hall of Famer, 14 catches for 98 yards and 2 touchdowns. The Big Ragu gave out Kelsey 2 touchdowns at plus 320 on our NFL Pub Hub. The number 1 red zone offense in the league went 3 of 3 in the red zone. The defense was strong. Sacked Trevor Lawrence twice, hit him 7 times. Watson had an interception. They're making their 5th straight appearance in the AFC Conference Final, but they've gone 0-3 against Joe Burrow and the Bengals with Patrick Mahomes at quarterback. And in the first matchup of the season, the same thing that could possibly happen here. Joe Cool was in complete control as soon as it needed it. And they were down, and then they came right back. As soon as Joe Cool needed to be the man, he was the motherfucking man. And I don't see why, with Mahomes not being mobile, the Bengals aren't in the Super Bowl. Take it away for us, Andy. The floor is yours. Bengals, Chiefs.
Yeah, this will be something, because this line is it's wild. Like, watching this, there's a lot of signal. If you look right now at Chris, bookmaker, if you wanted to bet on the Philadelphia Eagles minus 2.5, they would take $50,000. If you want to bet on the Chiefs or Bengals, they will take 10. They're taking 20% of the size of the bets. A lot of books are limiting how much they'll take on this, because I don't think anybody has all the news on this right now. Nobody actually knows, but there have been some, paper heads that take bigger bets that kind of lead the way on some of the informational stuff that moved to 2 first. They were the first player, they were the first to cross over to 1.5. And sometimes there's some signal to that. The signal to that would be Patrick Mahomes is not playing. I mean, it's kind of what I'm implying with that. I don't know. I don't have any actual news. People around Mahomes are, and, obviously Andy Reid are seeming to think he'll be all right, which, he played the second half. It was obviously limited. He still looked a lot better than I thought he was going to, all things considered. I mean, how bad did he look in those first couple plays when he decided he wasn't going to come out, which was just nuts to me. I just couldn't believe what we were seeing there. It was really something. Gutty performance, I guess. Good for him. They got it done. But it's really tough to say what's going to happen. I will say, just right off the bat, I'm betting this under 47. I got the bad number here. This was started higher. I'm still fine with this. I found a under 47 minus 105 the other day. I'm gonna take this under. If Mahomes is out, it's that much better. But I do think this is a decent defensive matchup, and kind of a bit of a maybe hidden note. And I did speak about this a little yesterday. Was what was the biggest storyline going into the Bengals-Bills game? It was oh my God, the Bengals have lost so many more offensive linemen. This is going to be trouble. And then we had an inch of snow. And I'm in a group chat. We have a couple of former D1, offensive linemen who have been really big resources for stuff like this. And they both said, like, that's a massive disadvantage for the pass rush. Like, having a slick surface, having snow. The one even joked, he said, like, that's the only time I had a really good game was going against some defensive rushers in the snow like that. So I don't want to make an excuse for the Bills, but maybe that was something that they were able to take advantage of. If you can give the defensive line a little bit of a disadvantage like that, and then also play a game like they played where they got the ball out really quick, I mean, the biggest problem you have is kind of gone. And then you just rely on all your strengths. So, and I mean, all these games that these two teams have played have come down to it too. I mean, it was, people remember just Joe Cool being Joe Cool, but I mean, I'm trying to think, there was about 10 minutes left. The Chiefs were leading by 4 with the ball, and we had a fumble. It was a Kelsey fumble that led to like a 50-yard touchdown drive. It was a fumble right in the middle of the field. So, I mean, the Chiefs were in control of that game, and a turnover turned it. They had a chance to tie it late. The field goal was a long one. I remember it didn't hit, and the Bengals just keep having their number. It's kind of wild. I took a small position on the Bengals early because I think it's going to keep running. Like, I do think, and stupid too, because in even a situation where Patrick Mahomes plays, he ain't practicing tomorrow. Like, he's not going out and taking all the snaps tomorrow. So I think there's a small amount of the media just really is going to run with all this, and that there's going to be so much steam behind the Wednesday announcement of Patrick Mahomes didn't practice. Well, no shit. Nobody thought he was going to practice, but everyone's going to. And there, you could see a little extra steam in the market. It did get out to 2.5 today, and then there was a bigger group that released some Chiefs plus 2.5. A bunch of people ended up on that. You saw some movement in the market. They have some influence there, so it's bounced back and forth. It looks like most sharp books are kind of sitting in that 1.5 right now, but for the most part, I think this Bengals offensive line will finally see a little bit of some of the problems that we thought we'd see last week of the Kansas City pass rush. And truthfully, like we did speak about the Bengals pass rush getting home, Kansas City's offensive line is sneaky decent. And a lot of that is because of, the skill position players, and especially the quarterback, make a big difference when it comes to pressure rates and sacks. But if you strictly go down to it's almost like there's baseball bettors in here. Let's talk about defensive, stats that take the defense out of the equation. It's the same kind of thing. Win rate, when you talk about offensive line pass rush win rate, which doesn't mean sacks, doesn't mean pressures, has nothing to do with the quarterback. Did you win your 1v1 versus the pass rushers? The Chiefs are tops in the league in that. They're one of the better offensive lines when it comes to just doing their job. And then the rest is, obviously, we probably don't see the Patrick Mahomes that scampers around, extends a play for 15 seconds, and then makes some ridiculous pass to Kelsey after the linebacker who's been chasing him for 15 seconds is finally out of gas. So I do worry about some of the big plays that Kansas City got there, which is, again, another reason to like this under. I think Kansas City will have to come in with a different game plan. Obviously, if it's Henny, it's a completely different game plan. But he's been a pretty apt backup. He looked cold-blooded as hell out there, man. He just stepped in and played. He didn't miss a damn beat. Obviously, he's not out there throwing submarine sidearm passes, but he looks just fine. So it's if this gets out to Bengals 3.5, I'll probably buy back on some KC, have a nice little middle, but truly my position on this is definitely the under 47 at this point. And if it's, if we get a Henny announcement at some point, I think it ticks down a little further.
Surprisingly, Pinnacle moved it up a full point. So it was at 4:10 p.m. This was at 46.5 minus 108 to the over. At 6:24 p.m., they moved it up to 47.5 minus 104 to the over. So we can get you, for show purposes, the under 47.5 at minus 111.
I'll take it
right now at Pinnacle. What a spectacular job by Papa Calls getting the opener under 51.5.
Oh yeah, he was just mashing buttons on Sunday night.
That is absolutely spectacular work. Absolutely spectacular work. So we have locked you in on the under. I want to bet the under. I expect with the lack of mobility from Mahomes and the ability for Burrow to have these long drives. I love what you said about the offensive line because that was really evident that they're how good they were. I don't expect to see that. And this Chiefs team has a plethora of players. I believe they have 7 players on their team with at least 3.5 sacks. You know, they can be dangerous. Although we didn't see that much of that against Jacksonville. They didn't really have to be that strong. They will have to be here. It's crucial. We have Birdie on the Bengals money line. Kirk Gray is on Kansas City here. And I can't believe Papa Call's got that 51.5. That's an absolute thing of beauty right there.
Gem. That's kind of his MO this year. Just sniping early numbers. He's gonna lose some damn accounts, Papa.
Sky Dragon says the difference is last week you got 6. This week they have to win the game outright. You know, I expect them to do it. I expect them to do it again. It just seems like they have the Chiefs' number. And they just seem so poised and confident right now. In saying that, I'm not going to put myself in a position where I can have any losses compound. If there is a 3 or 3.5 available for the Chiefs, I might add to the hedge. But I'm going to bet that's when I feel like the time is right. And it's crucial to get the Chiefs at the biggest dog price possible for the Eagles-Chiefs moneyline parlay. But it does take away a little bit of my action being so... it's so close to a huge score, and man, last year Avalanche Lightning was just a thing of absolute beauty. I'm getting quite a bit more here with the Niners at 15-1, but the Bengals at 7.5-1 is similar. Sky Dragon says, "Would you have said that a week ago today? Or are you reacting to what you saw last?" Yes, I'm reacting to Mahomes' high ankle injury.
Well, I think he's more referring to remember how the Bengals looked. And to be fair, and I brought this up, if you look at the last 8 games that the Ravens played, that defense was top 5. I mean, because remember how bad the Bengals offense looked against the Ravens in the playoffs.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was rough, and they really slogged. That was a tough matchup. They needed a defensive score to get them here. God, it's just like everything. Like the Bengals in the playoffs last 2 years, it's been wild. Can't imagine being a Bengals fan. It's not good for your heart.
But I'm definitely reacting to what I just saw last. Being able to go into Buffalo and destroy them. Now, we knew Buffalo had vulnerabilities, but to be able to destroy them the way they did, I would be much, much, much more concerned if this week the Bengals were playing the Eagles. And, you know, we can deal with that if we have to deal with that. I'm not with when you take away Mahomes' ability to, like you said, extend plays and throw these wild sidearm passes and things of that nature, they don't scare me. They simply don't scare me. Now, you know, the Bengals can struggle at the safety position, and there's no reason why Kelsey's not going to have another 14-catch day. But other than that, yeah, what I saw from the Bengals on the weekend was championship pedigree. And I know they haven't won one yet, but that's why they're so hungry. That's what I saw, and it's playing. I mean, that's the problem, Sky Dragon, with gambling. I try to talk about it over and over and over again, is the biases that we have by watching games and how you have other cappers like Spanky who beats the line by 4.5 points and goes out for dinner. You know, he doesn't watch the game. He doesn't care. He doesn't need to watch the game. Yeah. It's all about beating the line. And I've often thought that the cappers who don't watch the game and just have their models are probably better than us because we have these issues about certain teams. Sky Dragon said the Ravens had Cincinnati on the rope. Cincinnati then came and played the best game they played in the last 10 years. Yeah, Yeah, no, I hear you. And it's the reason why I want to talk everything out before I bet anything. And I'm going to hedge my position on my futures. Brady said, I said the last time these teams played in Kansas City with a healthy Mahomes, the wrong team was favored. I'm pissed we don't have a healthy Mahomes, and I could get a better money line price on the Bengals. For the sake of sports, yeah, we'd prefer to watch the Chiefs at their best. But for my Bengals futures, this is perfect. Absolutely perfect that Mahomes is not going to be mobile. So I'm going to move on do you think that there's a chance, Andy, with this buyback here on the total at Pinnacle, that the other books will follow suit? Because we are certain, you're absolutely right that Mahomes is not practicing tomorrow. So that's, even just reading that injury report is going to affect the line a little bit. Do you think that there's a 47.5 in the morning?
Chris is at 46.5 right now. You're starting to see a tick down at some places, and again, they're not even that is not that they're taking a third of the amount that they would take on the total in the San Francisco game. So that's maybe kind of what we're seeing too, is like everybody has lower limits on this game because of the uncertainty. So it's a little trickier to read this market, but at the same time, this is a wild adjustment if you think about it, because go look at that game from earlier in the year, and it was week 13 that closed Chiefs -2.5 in Cincinnati. What do you give teams for home field right now, Jimmy?
2.5.
Okay, so even if we go conservative and give a team 2 points for home field, that is to say that the Chiefs were 4.5-point favorites on a neutral field at that point. And if that game would have been played in Kansas City, they'd have been 6.5-point favorites. Just taking away the 2 for Cincy, giving it to Kansas City. So the fact that, we have this game happening right now in Kansas City, and they're a 1 to 1.5-point dog, let's just work off the 6. They're saying we're making a 7-point adjustment. And truthfully, for Mahomes, obviously. So, it just doesn't feel like a halfway point one where it's like, we had these with some of these quarterbacks where we're going to put it in the middle because maybe he plays, maybe he doesn't. And they could be sitting this at like Kansas City -2.5 and not be crossing really a key number or anything. So to me, it really screams. And to be fair, this quarterbacks nowadays, we saw it with Herbert, we saw it with Allen. These quarterbacks are calling their own number a little. I talked about that a little earlier in the week, where it seems like they have a little more sway than the team doctor or the coaches anymore, as far as if they get to play now. 5-10 years ago, there's no chance you're playing on this ankle. He's just toast. We already know that. But these star quarterbacks can call their own number a little, and man, if he plays, I won't be surprised. I guess I won't be surprised. But right now, the way this market's sitting, and the fact that bigger bets have been taken and pushed this across to Cincinnati as a favorite, it really feels like he's out. Which, I don't know. I'm kind of hoping for a miracle, like he plays and he's okay and we have a good game. I don't want a bad game at all.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I'd prefer he doesn't play and I cash my Bengals action. I just care about my bankroll.
No shit, no kidding.
That's all I care about. But I absolutely hear you with the breakdown. The question and the most difficult part of this all is that, and this is the difficulty with the Bills-Bengals game, is if you study the statistics, the Chiefs are so much better than the Bengals.
Yeah.
Like the Bills were so much better than the Bengals in every category. But there's something else going on here when you have a quarterback who's a winner. He just wins. And they've been in this position before. He never seems to get flustered. So that's the difficulty, is the statistics, and that's why you talk about the big change. The Chiefs are better in every single category. There's nothing that they don't stand out against the Bengals.
No, I make it like 4.5. If it's nothing ever happened to Patrick Mahomes, they win the game. It may be close. Bengals do what they do. Still no adjustment. It'd be Kansas City -4.5 in my eyes. So the fact that you're seeing a 6-point adjustment screams a lot, because A quarterback of that nature is a big downgrade to anybody, even a really good, capable backup like Henny. But yeah, I kind of hope he gives it a go, but not before I get my KC +3 in.
Well, let's just head over to Bookmaker. Bookmaker went down this morning at 11:07 a.m.
Yep.
Bookmaker was at 45. This total was at 45. Bookmaker, it's up to 46 right now, so it's just been climbing there. Bet Chris did the same thing. This was open at 11:07 this morning at 45, -115. So it's gone to 45.5 at -110, then 45.5 -123, 46 at -110, 46 at -111. You don't think Bet Chris and Bookmaker go to 46.5 and then keep climbing?
And right now, BetChris is at 46.5. Like, not looking at a screen, just looking right at the their console.
Oh, really?
So
Okay.
it's a little juice to the over, but it's -116 to the over, -104 to the under. So essentially a cheap under 47 is kind of where you're sitting at. But Circa's at under 47, -115. So it's bounced around, but I'm fine sitting on this. Anything over 45 for me, truthfully.
And the 47.5 available at Pinnacle right now. I'm going to move on the under. I want it in my pocket. Here. And we'll be live betting this heavily. So Andy has moved on the Eagles -2.5 at -108. -2.5, -108. And he's in the Bengals Chiefs. He's on the under 47.5 at -111. I am going to see how high this total gets in Niners Philadelphia and try to time it perfectly and bet the under. So I won't bet that tonight, and I will be betting the under here tonight in the Chiefs game. So that is my plan of attack for us here at Pub Sports Radio on Sunday at 12 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do our NFL Pub Hub, which will lead into the extravaganza live bet stream. And that is our plan. In our first Super Bowl breakdown, we plan to do a NFL Pub Hub on Thursday night of next week to do our first big, see what all the cappers are on, how everybody's handling all of this.